steel beams, turbine motors, copper wiring, and scrap metal. The Lenox Metals Recycling Show is for the serious big players. If you're working in a demolition, renovation, construction, in the hotel industry, government agency, or a utilities company, or just need to know what to do with your scrap and junk, then tune in. Al Hornstein, CEO of Lenox Metals, has over 25 years of experience as a commercial and industrial scrap metals dealer. He will bring you valuable information on how to save time, money, and your company's reputation when it comes to processing your recyclable scrap materials. Now, here's your host, Alan Hornstein, and his co-host, Justine Gronwald.
Aloha and welcome back to the Lenox Metals Recycling Show. I'm the co-host, Justine Gronwald, and your host, CEO of Lenox Metals, Alan Hornstein.
Thank you, Justine.
Now, in this episode, what we want to cover is we determine who a generator is. A generator is anyone that has recyclable metal. What they should do when beginning a project. So we're going to cover that. We're going to cover stuff like how to, you have a responsive staff, cover the logistics, you need project managers, all of that. So what entails in a good, smooth going project?
Well, when we go out, we survey a client's project. It's important to determine timeline arrangements for the client. In many cases, those that are either deconstructing or required to do build backs. Sometimes there's a dual function of the company to do both, and many companies who are developmental companies have a focus of both going on. And so we will look at the timeline. In some cases, we're working on projects. We have one particular project going on that will be extended out almost through a 5-year period.
Wow!
And
so
it's
it
massive.
Can be that lengthy.
Yeah, there's a massive undertaking being executed to do this tear out and build back, but certain phases of the project have to be completed before a reconstruction of the project occurs. So time goes by.
Right.
During this time, and we're working on several intricate projects that are built just like that. So we will go in. I will either go in as well with our project managers to talk to a select group of people that are running the project. They could be engineers to planners to logistics people. It's all tied in very, very closely. And those that are working with definitive timelines as well. So we need to know when to start and when to finish within those compliant timelines. We'll also look at the requirement at the project site. And we've talked about that before.
Right. Assessing a project.
Assessing what actually a project needs. And we were requested recently in one project to actually fabricate and make bins.
What are make bins?
To fabricate and construct, to weld together.
Oh, so you're just going to make it right there?
Yeah, well, we'll either make it there new with our own welders, or we'll have it fabricated off island.
Wow, okay.
And so, depending upon the lead times of the project, if we have enough lead time, 4 to 6 weeks, we'll go out and we'll have it fabricated off island. That would mean on the mainland. And so these particular containers were built for an undergrounding type of project where they had all types of metals and power equipment coming out that were actually being removed from, shall we say, a basement that was 3 stories deep.
Wow.
Yes.
I don't think people imagine anything like that exists.
Well, they typically don't, because I believe people identify with recycling differently.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole different world, this commercial industrial recycling. This is not throw your cans in a box and give it to the this is like heavy duty.
It is. It's heavy, it's industrious. You have to make sure you're fabricating a container that can take lots of weight in the
I
container.
imagine. So you would have to like even make sure the materials that you're putting together is going to be sufficient enough for the job.
Correct. And usually we get a good look at what they're pulling out, what they're deconstructing, what they're cutting up. And that gives us, kind of a pathway into the project. And then, but in most of our surveys, we'll go out, we'll look at an entire project from beginning to finish. In other words, something that may start in year 1 and actually be completed in year 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
For me, when I hear 5 years of a project, that's, you have to be really adequate in order to take on something like that.
Well, you do. I mean, you can look at projects, for instance, rail has started up recently.
In Hawaii, we're having a rail system now being built.
Yeah, and we expect to be a part of the construction process whereby they're either generating remnants or structural steel that's being recycled. That is typical of a project like rail.
Wow.
Rail is so new to Hawaii.
It is.
We're not sure what we'll be faced with.
Yes.
But
Just to give a timeline, this is being recorded October 30th, 2014. So we're just putting a timeline on here because if you're listening to this in the future, the rail may have already been done. But when it comes to those type of, I don't know how to describe it. That is a huge project. You're talking those type of timelines.
our company has dealt with projects that have imposed long timelines, several of which on the military side were deconstructing certain types of old assets down on the base. Good example is down at Pearl Harbor. They've been modernizing down at Pearl Harbor off and on for the last 10 years. Anything from crane and excavating, deconstruction, to buildings, to certain types of assets located down at the subbase, which are being changed out now. So we also facilitate on a long-term basis with our long-term contracts at the military, material being generated in their machine shops, their manufacturing shops, as well as the type of equipment that's retrofitted from ships. Ships that come into dry dock are constantly being refitted and retrofitted with certain types of equipment because as
they're aging.
Yeah, they're aging. The life cycle of certain manufactured materials or materials themselves have to keep up with standards as they float over the ocean.
So you are the one that takes away the old while they put the new in.
Yes, we take away the old on a timeline basis. Usually our contracts run anywhere from 6 months to potentially 3 years, and everything in between.
So just the fact that the military is using Lenox metals to do all of this gives you the credibility that you're clear. I mean, you meet all the standards. You meet everything that they're looking to.
Yeah, we have and have done that for years. We've been involved going back with the cleanup of Kaho'olawe.
That's a very sensitive.
Yeah, well, one of our larger engineering firms that was responsible for the primary contracting work brought us in, as well as to serve our client, who in this case was the Navy, to collect and recycle most non-combustible or fragment scrap metal that was being generated, that was being dug out of the ground or being remediated in munitions that was being taken off the island.
Talk about a project.
Yeah, that went on for years. That was I think close to about a 7-year project.
Wow.
Once it started through to completion.
When did it complete? What year was that?
The completion of the project, I think, went back to probably as much as 10 to 15 years ago. So in the early 2000s, around 2002 to 2005, I think we were involved in that project. And that's all part and parcel to our resume. We've demonstrated in that type of a project that, one, we're licensed to do that type of work and to transport, collect, recycle correctly, and prove that materials were recycled and destroyed for reuse and resmelting, which is something of a requirement for that particular project.
Okay. Well, I think this segment pointed out that if you're going to hire a company, they have to have the project managers in mind, the logistics, the timeline, the equipment, and to do it properly.
Yeah, I mean, our staff in particular is trained to do all that. We have a staff of 3 gals in our office that have been training. There's always ongoing training that's required. They're very responsive, and they're out there, on the front line serving our clients daily. They do a great job.
That's part of what we wanted to cover, is that if you're going to hire someone, you need that responsive staff.
Yes.
There's nothing like trying to call and nobody answers.
Absolutely.
I think we covered that. If you want to begin a project, these are the guidelines that you should follow. And Lenox Metals has the ability and the equipment to do all that, and the staff.
Yes. We
Okay.
do.
So for those of you who want more information, take a look at the bottom of your screen or listen in, dial or call this number, area code 808-518-3997, and Alan will send you some information right away.
Thank you, Justine.
All right. So until the next episode, aloha.